Hello and welcome back. So in today's video you are getting a summary of chapter 13 of Jane Eyre. So chapter 13, it's the day after Mr. Rochester has arrived at Thornfield Hall, and he asks Jane and Adele to have tea with him, and even though he's invited them to partake of this with him, he's very cold, he's very abrupt and perhaps a little rude. And particularly you kind of notice that towards Adele there definitely isn't like this fatherly air that he has towards Adele. You know, you can definitely tell that she is just the ward in this household, and he almost seems begrudging about it, and yet he still provides for her. It's an interesting dynamic. And so through talking to Jane, Mr. Rochester finds out that she draws, or that she's an artist, and he shows interest in that, and he wants to see some of her paintings. And you can tell that he's looking at the paintings to kind of gather a better understanding of Jane herself, of the artist, and he does do that a little bit. And then they talk a bit about like when he first met Jane on the road the day before. And it's actually, I wanted to read it because I liked this part of the chapter, and I also hope that with these summaries, me providing a little bit of the actual text from the chapter can help you in your grasp of the people's tone and mannerisms. And so Mr. Rochester, he expresses that when he did first come upon her, he had wondered if she had bewitched him. And his first thought had been of fairy tales, and that stuck out to me a little bit just because she too also thought of fairy tales right before and when she encountered him. And then a little bit after they exchanged that, Mr. Rochester said, "I thought not," after he's accused her of bewitching him and being a fairy. "I thought not. And so you were waiting for your people when you sat on that stile? For whom, sir? For the men in green. It was a proper moonlight evening for them. Did I break through one of your rings that you spread that damned ice on the causeway?" I shook my head. "The men in green all forsook England 100 years ago," said I, speaking as seriously as he had done, "and not even in Hay Lane or the fields about it could you find a trace of them. I don't think either summer or harvest or winter moon will ever shine on their revels more." So I like that moment because you get a little bit of a peek into Jane's ability to, I guess, almost use sarcasm with Mr. Rochester. And as we'll discover, that's something that kind of endears Mr. Rochester to her. Not to give too many spoilers, but you're watching a summary for a reason. So let's see. Later on in this chapter, chapter 13, Jane mentions to Mrs. Fairfax that she found Mr. Rochester to be a bit cold, a bit rough around the edges, and Mrs. Fairfax proceeds to kind of make an excuse for him and just saying that his mannerisms are perhaps a result of a really difficult past, which then she gives Jane a little bit of a peek into. So we learn that Mr. Rochester has been the proprietor of Thornfield Hall for 9 years, after not only his father died, but after his brother died, because his brother had originally been the inheritor. But then he lost both of those family members, so now he's in charge of this place. So that is pretty much chapter 13. Those are kind of the major things you need to know, with a little bit of a sampling from the text itself. So I hope this helps. Make sure to check out the other chapter summaries that I already have on here, and all the ones to come after chapter 13. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around. Bye.